Hey, what's up, guys? Um, so this isn't a video for everybody. It's not. So, I'm just gonna say that straight up. Just enjoyed the kiddie pool, hanging out in the backyard, and I've been spending most of the day not only taking care of stuff here in the backyard, picking cherries and whatnot, but also really getting in tune with some folks that are speaking a certain thing that I personally have experienced in the art world. It's funny because coming back to, there I go with my nose again, just deal, it just is what it is. I've had a really great experience meeting wonderful people, high and low. And what I mean by high and low in the art world, what I mean to say is people that are the movers and shakers of the art world, and also people that are local folks that just really love to create. And, they aren't really into the higher levels of the art world and the spiritualism of it and the energetic resources that happen in the art world, if that's a diplomatic way of saying it. But I've had the experience of knowing people on all levels of it. And I am someone who very much loves to encourage people to express themselves and to believe in their music or believe in their art, believe in their heart, their own individual heart, to raise up beauty and to raise up awareness, to talk honest through art. I don't have a big trust fund. I don't. But whatever resources that I have, if I believe in other folks, for years, I'll find a platform for them. But I have to speak really honestly about certain agendas and certain influences that happen from the higher realms of the art world that can influence younger generations into thinking that a certain conversation is the way to become successful in this world. And I haven't really talked about it much publicly. I have talked about it a lot privately with folks that I know and I care about, and I'll tell them straight up about it. But I think that there's been something lost for me not really ultimately talking about in public what I'm about and what others can be about and how it can be very, very different. Okay, so here's the thing. What are the arts? What are they? When in academia, they talk about techniques. They make it seem really, really easy of just like, okay, I want to be an artist, and so I want to learn different techniques, and then I'm just going to apply those techniques and create a really great economy for myself because I've learned different techniques, and they'll be sellable. That's one level. Okay, that's one level. Another level is I've gotten in tune with a certain energy that gives me inspiration to talk about different truths. And sometimes those energies that you get around are not necessarily telling you the whole truth. And sometimes with the highest art, and I say this respectfully to everyone that I've known, I'm not trying to out anybody, and I'm not trying to disrespect anybody that might adhere to this kind of thing. But I do, in all honesty, ask, sometimes, what are we really tuning ourselves into? For me personally, I felt for a long time that there was this energy through the arts that was pushing an agenda that sounded really good, but it was actually really hurting a lot of people. And they talk about free love, they talk about freedom and all this other stuff, but when you actually follow the agenda, it doesn't really feel like love. And it doesn't really feel like freedom. It feels like exploitation, and it feels like bondage. And if you listen very closely, and again, some of you might just know me as Kim down the street. Okay? It's fine. And others know me in a different aspect. And you know what I was capable of. And I'm not going to go much further in that, but you knew what I was capable of. But my own will, right? My will be done. And a lot of my will was done in many ways, but it didn't necessarily feel good all the time. People wonder, hey Ray, how's it going? Ray, actually, this does apply to the thing that you posted a little bit ago, and it inspired me to talk about it. So I'm going to invite you. So in the arts, whether the masses or the public really understand, in higher circles within the arts, which I was involved with at one point in time, it really is about spiritual connection and knowing that we are energy vessels. And who are we asking to come in to ourselves to inspire us to create great art? Again, this is not a conversation for people that aren't in the arts. If you're not in the arts and you don't want to know this stuff, don't tune in. It's all right. It's cool. But if you are in the arts and you want to do, hey Angela, what's up? If you're in the arts and you're thinking more along these lines of really hitting the high art of what's happening right now, and you really want to get in tune with it, you have to understand the game. And I'm going to say some things right now that you're not going to hear from most folks that are in the game, because they're aligned with it, or when they start realizing what it's really about, they are never going to tell you what's really going on, because they're terrified of what's going to happen to them if they talk. Okay? There's a reason why I left Los Angeles. There's a reason why what's up, Johanna? There's a reason why once I left Los Angeles, my conversation stopped about my will be done and getting all in line with all these different energies that can create this amazing art on this certain level. And I started talking about Luciferianism. I started talking about different spiritual entities that create these mass popular artists and these mass popular things that go on. I found out a lot. And I'm not gonna out anyone that I know. Okay, so for those of you that are friends with me friends with me personally, who I'm also connected with on Facebook, I still love you to death. Okay, that's never going to change. But I did understand from my own heart that this isn't good. And you're going to have to come to that understanding for yourselves. You know, I have really wonderful friends that are involved in this stuff. Okay? And I've had many, many private conversations with these folks that I love so much. My battery's at 10%, so I'm probably going to run inside in a minute. I'm just going to run inside right now. You know, again, it's important to realize that people aren't the enemy. Ideas can be the enemy. I'm going inside right now so that we don't lose battery. I've had many, many conversations privately with good friends of mine in the art world, out in Los Angeles, in New York, in Berlin, in Basel, about these things that are going on. And the point of the matter is there's, maybe I'll turn the light on real quick so that you guys can see me a little bit better. It's a little dark in the kitchen. When it comes to the arts, there is craft. There's craft. People that know really great techniques, and they don't take it any further than the technique. Okay? But there's also a whole higher group. What's up, Rachel? I miss you. I hope everything's good. There's a whole other level in the arts that encourages folks to open themselves up spiritually. And it seems very innocuous. It seems very interesting and mystique. You know, you're a goddess. You are you just connect with nature and you create these things, and you know, you are your own god, and you need to get involved with the meditation of opening up different energies throughout the universe to evoke these different things that you will end up expressing. And I was open to that for a little while. I really was. I mean, like, I'm not judgmental, and I was really open, in all honesty, to all kinds of different things. And for those of you that have known me for a long time, you know that that's what I was down with. I was trying to figure it out. And I also wanted to be really successful in the art world, you know, and I had a lot of ideas. And but the more and more I got involved with this stuff, the more I realized how much what was being called good was super duper not. It was so not. And there's a reason. You're not going to see these kind of artists on. What's up, Clayton? Hey, you know, you're not going to see some of the artists that were highly collectible in the art world, in the high art world. You're not going to see these people thrown into the mass public to know what they're really about. But they were there. Yo. What's up, Clayton? Clayton is a wonderful friend of mine, and talk about someone who has just beautiful energy and just a very, very kind and sweet person. I just got to give you a shout out because you're just a really wonderful heart. You're one of the lights. You're one of the lights. So, you know, sometimes no matter where you're at, and no matter how much your ambition is to be accepted in a certain group, and for me it was the high art world. I mean, I really wanted to be a part of that, and I was doing everything I could to be a part of that. When you start really finding out what the game is on that really high level, and then you find out the artists that are really being pushed, and it's not It has nothing to do with beauty. It has nothing, there truly is witchcraft in the world. I'm going to tell you straight up. And if I wanted to be the highest witch in creating your will and creating this certain thing, I could have done it. And I'm not saying that to be prideful at all. I mean, that sounds so weird. And again, this is not a conversation for people that are not involved in this stuff or who don't understand it. It's not. So, you know, you could just tune out if you want. But that was on the table, weirdly enough. And there's a reason why that in a lot of the independent citizen media revealing a lot of different things in the arts that are super gnarly, it's real. I'll tell you, I'm going to tell you straight up, it's real. They tell the public that it's just art, okay? That's how it gets played. There's some people that don't understand it, or there's some people that really think it's good. Anyone who may honestly be involved in this stuff and they think it's good, you know, that's okay. But eventually, hopefully, they realize what's up. But there are also very nefarious folks that know exactly what they're doing in manipulating people and doing really bad stuff through art. I don't do that with my art. I never have, or at least I never consciously did that. For me, it was always about really trying to understand the real truth and really understand beauty and tell stories through it. But there is an aspect of the high arts that through energy, they align themselves with certain things. I probably won't go much more into that because I don't know if it's really understood or if I'd make much sense to a lot of folks that are on my Facebook. And for those that are on, those that I am friends with that are involved in this, I don't want to offend and I don't want to vilify anybody, because my point with this is that ideas are the problem, not the people. We have all kinds of different ideas, and we also have all kinds of different reasons why we get involved in things. And a lot of times when we're kids, we just want to matter in the world. You know, we want to matter. We want to be somebody. And maybe when we're a little kid, we get totally inspired by our biggest pop idol. And we go, I want to be like them. But we don't know what it takes to go that route. We don't really know the real game. But we're totally into the idea of, I want to be a star. Yeah. I want people to think of me in this certain way. I want to be validated. And there's nothing wrong with that. Until it becomes bondage, until you're totally focused on just that idea of becoming that idol or becoming that super famous artist or that super famous musician, that you're willing to do anything and everything, no matter how much you know that it probably might not be a good idea to do, you end up doing. And the folks that I know, there are some people that I know that have done very, very well in the arts, and they're fantastic people. Their hearts are just great. You know, they're just good people, you know. And there's other folks that I've met that they're broken. They did anything and everything. They sold everything of themselves to get to where they're at. And They lost themselves big time, big time. And we have to ask the question why in a very compassionate way to these folks, because they're not bad people, but maybe they were influenced by their family or the people that they were around. Maybe they were sold into the industry when they were a kid. I mean, you look at Disney, it's a perfect example. I'm not a fan of Disney. What's up, Kim? Good to see you. I'm not a fan of Disney, just for the simple fact of looking at the fruit of what a lot of these child actors have gotten involved in. And what ends up happening to them as adults, and then how cruel the public is when they outwardly show signs of what was serious abuse and serious exploitation by their own parents. Hey, Adam. They, the abuse that their parents benefited from, or their managers, or the producers of these Disney channels or whatnot. And why is it, and you guys know I'm not down with destroying innocence. Sorry, I'm in a bathing suit. I just jumped out of the pool and I just want to talk. I'm not trying to be sexy. I'm just in the moment of talking. So I'm just going to try to keep it right about there. Because again, for myself, I don't want to sell sexy. I don't. I mean, if you're really pushing feminism, or you're really pushing the power of the woman, the idea of constantly exploiting one's body to be more prevalent than the ideas and the talk and the things that one can do, if the sexiness overrides all of that, then guess what? It's exploitation. And it's also a manipulation on other folks. Let me show, and I'll tell you, this is the truth. They use a lot of really beautiful women so that it's eye candy for things that aren't necessarily true. So I'm not saying that the women that get involved with this are bad people. They end up getting used up because they are beautiful women. They're beautiful, but their looks get used for an agenda that has nothing to do with lifting up what a woman really has to give to the world, with their ideas, with their love, with their thoughts, with their actions. It's all about their body. It's all about their looks. And then they can go crazy because they start losing it. They start losing those looks. They start losing this stuff. So they start jumping into, oh, I've got to do plastic surgery. I've got to do this sort of thing. I mean, and you've got someone like Lindsay Lohan that is just completely destroyed by it. She's a perfect example of what goes on with that kind of crap. And her parents totally sold her out. Totally sold her out. Shame on them. And then the public just laughs about it. And everyone else is making a whole bunch of money off of her exploitation. Is that feminism? Hell no. Hell no. Thanks, Ray. Thank you, Ray. And Ray, I really respect, I like, honestly, I could spend probably half the day listening to Ray's and reading Ray's posts. I love what you post, and it's amazing. And it's really enlightening, all the different ideas and the philosophies that you share. Thank you. So, and I really appreciate you enjoying this talk, because this isn't just theory for me. This was what I went through. Okay. And again, no, I didn't make it to be super duper famous. Okay. There's a reason why. There's a reason why. I didn't go out to Los Angeles to become that kind of person. I went out to Los Angeles to change the fucking game. I didn't want anyone to be playing that game anymore. I wanted them to feel a new tuning fork. And I'm nobody, okay? I'm just me. But I could feel, I knew what I was about, and I believed in what I was about, and I believed in all the young women that, you know, I saw coming up doing beautiful music, becoming models. I mean, I was around so many young women that were beautiful and smart and kind and like super creative. And it was like, you know what? I don't want them to be a part of that institution. So can we change the institution? How are we going to change the institution to not be so exploitative and literally energetically vampiric? That's what it is. You've got folks in the high levels of art that are literally energy vampires. They don't know what beauty is. They freaking destroy it. Why do you look at so much modern art and it is totally disgusting? And I'm not trying to be a prude here, okay? I've been around the gamut, all right? But at some point you got to have common sense and go, I'm sorry, you're calling yourself a feminist artist and yet you're showing live video of young women getting decapitated and getting sawed away and getting raped, and then you're saying it's some sort of like high artistic thing. No, it's not. You know what? You're a freaking sellout. And I'm not going to say the person's name, but there is a woman feminist artist that is making tons of money right now. And this does get me angry. This does get me fired up. There is a woman artist in her early 40s, same freaking age as me. And she's out there promoting this crap, and she's making tons of money from these people that live off this kind of crap. That they want to, they feed off of innocence, they feed off of destroying beauty, they feed off this stuff. This is real, you guys. This is not some YouTube conspiracy theory. If I post something from YouTube that from my own personal experience of this stuff, that is so beautifully well put together, that explains exactly what I saw, and I share it, I'm not blindly just watching some random YouTube thing because I've lived in podunk nowhere for years. And I just listen to this YouTube and go, oh my goodness, I can't believe that happened. Let me just share that with you. No, I'm sorry. I was there. I was there. And I know some of these folks. And that fires me up. Yeah, I will get upset about that. I'm not trying to throw anger at anybody. But you know what? If you're down with really caring about people and really caring about their personal well-being and being able to like really truly in a safe environment explore their music, explore their uniqueness, explore their own beauty, especially as women. And you've got this artist who's a woman who's making a ton of money showing how women should kill each other, kill themselves. And you got these folks that literally hostel's real. Okay? These folks that buy that kind of video, that support her work, that support work like that, they are like hostile. There are people in the world that are very, very wealthy that buy that kind of stuff. They get off on it. And they also take it a bit further. Did you know that Hostel, let's talk about the arts with the film. I'm just going to go there. Because you know what? If you're a feminist, you don't sit there and fight to make women into sex objects. You fight to protect the women to be their most beautiful selves in whatever facet they believe in their best ways are going to be possible. And if you have to expose some folks that are trying to tell you one thing about what feminism is, and at the same time they're trying to destroy women, Oh, I'm going to call him out because I'm over it. I've been around this situation since I was 13 years old. And I'm done. I'm done being quiet. I'm done. Just trying to be diplomatic because maybe secretly I was afraid that I would get completely ostracized from the art world. Well, I already am. And that's okay. Because you know what? I know what I'm about, and I know what really matters in this world. And I know that you folks do too. And someone's got to start talking. So let's go to Hostel. Do you know the history about the movie series Hostel? Do you know the history of that? It was supposed to originally be a documentary. It was originally supposed to be a documentary that was what was really happening in Eastern Europe in the 90s. You had very wealthy men, and they were men, sorry, and I'm not trying to throw men under the bus, but these specific folks that were involved in this kind of thing with Hostel, they were men, and they were very, very wealthy, and there was something wrong with them. They would spend tens of thousands of dollars to be able to do their most horrific fantasy with somebody. And they would have certain criminalistic mobs, like the mafia is all over the world, and they do some pretty nasty stuff. Okay, so as long as you throw them some bones, they're gonna go along with it. So apparently in the 90s, and I'm sure this has been going on for generations, but let's just specifically talk about how Hostel, the movie series, was created. Eli Roth. Hello, Eli. Well, Eli Roth originally found out that this was real. And he wanted to do a documentary to expose them. And props to him for that, right? In the beginning, props to him for that. To expose these complete psychopaths that will pay 40, 50, 60, maybe sometimes $100,000 for what they would do is they'd say, all right, well, I want this specific looking woman, or sometimes it would be a young boy. It could be someone from America. It could be someone from Sudan. It could be someone from anywhere that particular wealthy person personally wanted. And the idea is that these folks would kidnap someone that fit the agenda. And they would pay, and the person that was kidnapped would be put through some really nasty stuff. And that was real. Well, when those folks found out that Eli Roth was actually going to put this down as a documentary, they threatened him with all kinds of things. I'm sure you can only imagine. So what did Eli Roth do? He decided to create a fictional story about it. And he made a ton of money. And guess who had a cut in the money of those films? Sell out. There is human trafficking in the world. There is sex trafficking in the world. There are really weird things that happen in the arts that are ritual based and are really gnarly, that these same folks align with, and they give the artists that go along with it a ton of money. There was a woman in Britain recently who apparently she was really sexually abused as a kid in the 60s, and she decided to become an artist in her adult life, and she would videotape her own children in quasi-pedophilic kind of positions, And guess who bought those kind of videos and called it art? I'm not going to say any names. You guys can look it up. And we're talking, and she makes like $100,000 a video of her own kids. I'm tired of this happening. And also, I'm tired of all these beautiful, wonderful young kids that are coming up in the art world, and they don't understand what's really going down. And if they don't really understand what's going down, they don't have the ability to decide what they're for. And if they don't have the ability to decide what they're for, if they have a ton of debt through their quote unquote education, then they go, well, what can I do that will be financially successful? And if the highest up right now in the art world are the ones that are pushing these kind of conversations for artists to be influenced by, to become successful, what kind of monsters are they going to turn into? Let's talk about the modeling world. I know a lot about the modeling world. It's not necessarily quite in the arts, but I was on the periphery of it. And I knew some really beautiful women that got involved in it. And it wasn't good. And I'll tell you what goes down. Let's go down. Let's go down this road. In the modeling world, there are some very straightforward, good campaigns. They're good people that protect their kids. I know a few that are really good about navigating safe campaigns with, LL Bean or whatnot, maybe Kaufman's. I don't think Kaufman's is even around anymore, but just those safe places. All right. And I'm not talking to those folks. And you guys really have a handle on how to protect your kids. But there are also very predatorial situations and campaigns that if parents are just wanting so badly for their kids to make a ton of money and they're not really paying attention to what they're getting their kids involved with, and young women, the highest, I'm just going to say it, and you can believe me or not, I really don't care at this point. I really don't care. I'm just so tired of watching young people get destroyed. My own friends. I'm really tired of seeing it. They believe one thing, and in order for them to create their dream, they get molested by a photographer. Remember the campaign No Fear? Do you remember that campaign? Let's talk about the photographer behind that campaign in the mid-90s. This was the first time I ever, through a friend that was involved as a model for them, that something bad happened. And it's happened many, many times for people that I know. This photographer had a huge name for himself. Everyone knew No Fear. And my friend, she was one of my best friends, beautiful girl. I mean, stunning. And he was gonna have her be the campaign model. She was 17 years old. She just graduated high school, but she was kind of young to graduate, and she would tell me, I met this photographer, he's really big and he's doing all this stuff. And I totally trust him. Like he's telling me, oh, this is great. We're just going to make you this big, ad campaign thing for No Fear. She's 17 years old, and he starts encouraging her to have wine before the shoot so that it relaxes her. Second thing that he tries to do is to tell her that, oh, it's totally, I need you to see you topless. Now, if you know No Fear, it's a sports brand. Okay? We're not talking about Hustler here. We're talking about a sports brand. And he says, I'd like to see what it looks like. Do you mind? I mean, are you too prudish or whatnot? And of course, like, when you're young, you want to prove yourself and not like think that you're prudy or whatever. So she went along with it. He ends up drugging her drink and raping her. I get the phone call. She didn't know what happened. And we put it together. And it took all my might not to literally drive to where I knew his studio was and take a baseball bat to his head. And the worst part about it is that he did gaslighting with her and blackmail. So at first he said, oh, you're just thinking things happened that didn't happen. You just passed out and everything was fine. But the more and more she wouldn't let go of it, he said, well, I've got nude pictures of you. Do you want me to paste them all over the place? She's 17 years old. This guy was 40. And don't think that was the first time he did that. This is rampant in the modeling world. And you know how many, and I don't have kids, but do you know how many friends of mine that don't understand the game or the pitfalls? And it gets worse. That's nothing compared to what I've found out when it comes going higher. You want to get real high in the modeling world? Let's talk about high-end escort service. Is this feminism? Is this what we're telling the kids to become? Be a Victoria's Secret model. Do you know what that means? It's not good. You think that they got there because they were just pretty? They got there I'm just going to say it. Unless the parents were really wealthy to begin with, and that they had those connections to keep their kids safe in that realm, the way that you're able to, from the bottom, to get into that kind of level, behind closed doors, modeling agencies set you up with quote-unquote business contacts, business meetings, which is a very nice way of saying, you've got a date. What are you going to do on this date? If you're nice on that date for that high, wealthy business person, you might get that contract. And if you're not so nice on that date, you're not open to it. Okay? That's not cool. And I'm not speaking out of speculation. And I'm also not going to out the people that I know that went through it, because I love them. And you're either going to listen to me and believe me or you're not. But please don't put your kids through the modeling thing unless you're really involved and you protect them at every step of the way. Okay? That's all I got to say about the modeling industry. It's freaking sick. The last thing I will say one more thing about the modeling industry is it creates dysmorphia. I have known so many beautiful women just from the inside out, and there's nothing wrong with them. But these elite Ford modeling agency, all that crap, they want them to be 25 to 40 pounds less than what they should be. Their hair starts falling out. Their skin starts turning gray or yellow. They look like shit. They look like an Auschwitz victim, or they look like a 10-year-old little boy. Why do they look like a 10-year-old little boy? And is that beauty? Is that feminism? Is that lifting up a woman in her own power and her own beauty and what she has to bring to the table? No, it's not. I'm tired. I'm 41 years old, and I've seen this for so long. And I just have to say it. You know, and if I offend someone or someone doesn't understand what I'm talking about, it's all right.